Welcome to another show of the Beyond Sets and Reps podcast. I am your host, Pat Ivey, and I am so thrilled today. In this profession and working with athletics, I've coached, I don't know, hundreds, thousands of young people. And sometimes you have the chance to meet someone that you have not had a chance to coach that is a student athlete. And that happened. That happened last year. Had a chance to meet this young man. His name is Perris Jones, running back, University of Virginia. In case you recognize that name, and if you search that name, you would quickly understand why and how I got to know this individual. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Perris Jones.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. It's a pleasure to be here. I look forward to sharing a bit of my experience and what I have going on, futuristically speaking, and most of all, the privilege of speaking with you, sir, and with the great influence that you've had on me. I'm grateful for you, forever grateful. So it's always a pleasure to be able to spend some time with you.
Absolutely. And you're one of those people, it's almost you hear stories about athletes and you hear the good people that they are, and you go like, yeah, okay, that's a good story. But when you have a chance to meet the person and see them go through adversity, and I can't think of anyone that went through something more than what you went through. I want people to know who you are. I want parents and teachers and counselors and coaches and athletes to hear your story and understand what all goes into this thing of athletics and life and academics. Your story is awesome. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell us about yourself.
Yes, sir. So this is one of my least favorite things to do, believe it or not. But so I am, first of all, a recent graduate with my master's degree from the University of Virginia in educational psychology. Prior to that, I had two undergraduate degrees in English and African American Studies, also from the University of Virginia. So I am proud to say that I am done with school as it seems right now. I've done my due diligence in that sense. I have also played football at this level. And as Mr. Ivey or Dr. Ivey, forgive me, mentioned earlier, I had a career-ending injury in Louisville, but honestly, it was a career starter in a lot of senses of the word, truth be told. So it just was the end of my playing career, but my career truly was just beginning as a result of that. So um, I grew up in a small town called Arcadia, Florida. Not very many people know where it is. It's southwest, in the area of Sarasota, which a lot of people can kind of relate to a lot more. And so being from there, small town, not very many people grow up and leave that town. It's a kind of all inclusive. And, my mom, she had me when she was very, very young. So I watched her work really, really hard to provide for my brother and I. And up until the point that my dad and I, got reunited and he began to formulate and cultivate my mind into what it is now and develop my sense of hard work to really be who I am and show me how I should live my life to leave a legacy that's worth following. So in a nutshell, that's all me right there.
That is fantastic. So let's fast forward a little bit and let's get to this situation, this incident. Um, you're on the road playing at the University of Louisville. Uh, Competitive game, very competitive game. You're the running back and you have the ball and you are making your way towards trying to score.
Right.
And then there's a collision. And we've all seen those. If we've watched the sport long enough, we've seen those instances. Take us through that moment so we can get past that.
Yes, sir. So it was, I mean, like you said, it was a routine play. I've ran that same play over 10,000 times, like with the same exact ending, everything. Just, a collision's going to happen. You try to deliver the blunt force so that you give more than you're receiving. And then you get up and go to the next play, fix your chin strap a little bit, keep it pushing. But this time, when I encountered that hit, it's almost as if when the collision occurred, a light switch went off and like my whole body shut down. And I couldn't even feel myself hit the ground. So it was scary, as one could imagine. Immediately following it, I was like, oh, what's going on? I can't move, I can't feel anything. This is weird, what's going on. But grateful to my parents, and my dad instilled a strong faith in me. So right after that initial fear feeling, I was able to kind of rely on my faith. And I just said, God, I'm listening, because I felt that he was trying to show me something or point me in a direction. And man, was that true. So it was scary at first, but then it was, I don't want to say not scary, but I was comforted in the fact that I knew that there was something greater that would come out of this. And I was kind of more so focused on taking on those challenges to get to that greater sense of accomplishment, if you will. And I feel like I'm getting to that now.
So you covered the psychological and the emotional aspect of that traumatic event. What physically happened?
Physically, so my spinal cord was collapsed in a sense. My disc and my spine, they protruded into my spinal column and cut off the connection from my brain to the rest of my body. So when they took me into the hospital, they notified me that I'd have to have surgery to reopen that space, essentially, so that that connection had its best chance to resend those messages and have them connect. And gratefully they did. I was able to pretty much regain all functionality not too long after the surgery, which, man, I mean, that's a testimony to how great the doctors and the trainers and everything are at the University of Louisville. I mean, that was the best place for that injury to take place, which is a miracle in itself and kind of like a coincidence, if you will.
Well, I had I remember where I was when that happened, and I was actually away on business, so I was actually not there at the stadium, but I was watching the game, and I remember being probably 15 or so, we talking yards as football
Mhm.
players, 15 yards from the television. And I remember getting up out of my seat, walking to where I was within probably 3 feet of probably no one else could see. Like no one else could see past me. And I'm watching for so many things, and I'm thinking like, oh, this is not good. This is not good. And at the moment I had regrets. I was like, man, I wanted to be there in that moment because I knew the team of people that I work with were going to have to go into an emergency situation.
Right.
Um, and I remember driving back to Louisville, and before I went home, I stopped by the hospital to see you and your family, because the connection between when you work with athletes, it doesn't go away just because you're not working with those athletes or a particular athlete in particular. So having the chance to meet you and your family, I recognize what a special situation. I knew you had all that you needed to get to where you are today and go beyond. So talk about your family and how important that is to being an athlete today, because I don't, I look back on, being an athlete during my time, we rarely saw each other's parents. The parental involvement just wasn't there. It wasn't, you have to have parents involved today. So talk about family, your family, and the importance of those people to help you to get past that situation.
Right. I mean, they're detrimental. Like it's like you said, there's so much going on in the world today, especially with sports, so many changes that are constantly being made. And your parents, I like to liken them to your foundation, right? My parents, at the core of who I am, are the principles that they've instilled in me, from my mom and dad, both hard work, resiliency, perseverance, and truly faith, and being focused on there's always a silver lining, there's always something that God is pointing to you to, even amidst the chaos. So they've been my guiding light, if you will, and pointing me towards the direction of which I'm going, and also assuring me in the fact that, you know, I am okay. Because sometimes that's hard to think. Remember, I remember when I was playing, which is kind of sounds crazy to say because it doesn't feel like that long ago, but now I can
Mhm.
honestly say I'm a football alum. I'm retired. So, but back in my playing days, man, like I didn't ever take time to check on myself, really. It was just kind of go, 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 the next opponent, the next workout, the next game. And, they remind you in a sense that, you're okay, you got this, you are human, you're on earth, things aren't as moving as fast as you think they are. So they're really a grounding factor and a comfort, if you will, that helped me through every adversity I've been through. And truly, I can say that the things that my parents have given me from a mental and emotional and physical standpoint have been irreplaceable in my journey thus far, as I'm sure they'll continue to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you think about athletes, your teammates, let's talk about your teammates and the impact that you had and have on them and they have on you. Why is it important? Why is team so important? Why is friendships and relationships so important in sports? And how do you see this translating to life?
Team is everything. I think it's an African proverb that if you want to go fast, go along alone, but if you want to go far, go together. So you need people, for any extended, lengthy journey. And so your teammates, they become your family, truly. Like during those hard times, you see each other struggle, you see each other go through those hard workouts and those difficult games and those tough moments. And they're who you look at to draw motivation from, and those are who you lean on in times when you need something. Like if it's 4th and 1, hey, I need my left guard, I need my tackle, I need my center, I need you guys. It's a team effort. I got to do my job, you do your job, and if we do our jobs well enough together, then this thing will be beautiful. And I think that translates to life because that's what you want to try to create with your circle. With your culture that you build, and whether it be in the workplace, whether that be with your family, those are your teammates. That's who you're going to go with far. That's who's going to carry you through those adverse moments like I had at Louisville. My family, those are the ones that were really my backbone when I necessarily couldn't be my own, if you will. So that translates into how you should try to live your life and surround yourself with people who are going to be in the trenches with you, for lack of a better way to say it, and not leave when things get rough.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Uh, Talk to me about what you want to do in life. Like you went to school, you got 3 degrees now, you've got some awesome life experiences. What is that? How does that translate to what's next?
Impact, truly. My dad, when I first started my football career, he asked me, of course, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? Like what's your purpose in this life? And of course, my young, immature self, I said, I just want to go to the NFL and make a lot of money. That's what I want to do. And he was like, it's got to be deeper than that. Like truly, like what do you want to do? And I'll never forget it. He asked me, he said, what is one thing that you could do for the rest of your life for free and not get paid for it, and also never get tired of it, even though you're not being paid? And even way back then, I just said, I just want to help people. Like how? I'm not really sure, but I want to help people. Like I could do that every day. Always have a smile on my face. Never get mad if I get called in when I'm not working. I could do that every day. And he said, okay, so how about you use football in order to help people? And then I said, okay, that's not something I've really ever thought about, but I could definitely do that. So as I began to grow and develop, I began to realize just how I would do that. And so now that kind of looks like one day I want to create a nonprofit organization. And I'm gonna call it No Stars. And there's a story behind that. So coming out of high school, typically they rank football players by stars, like 1 through 5. One being like, okay, this kid's okay, and 5 being, man, he's gonna be the next whoever input the great athlete that you want to put. So coming out of high school, I didn't have any stars. And so seemingly I wasn't on that talent scale. And I still like to think that I made an impact, even though I wasn't ranked or perceived to be something great. I did pretty great things, in my opinion. So I want to be that same vehicle for other kids, to not necessarily in only the sports realm, but any realm that they could think of. I want to be that middleman to first present them with those opportunities to show them that they are out there and they exist. And then also be a vehicle that gets them to those destinations and enables them to do what they need to do and accomplish their goals and dreams. So that's the end goal of what I want to get to. And I plan on taking that as broad as I possibly can. I know I'm going to have to start small, but I really see it taking off and being a global thing at some point, and that's my goal for it to be. And then aside from that, I just like to share my story in hopes that it impacts people and gives them something that they can use within their own stories to help in any circumstances that they may be within, to know that they can overcome them and that they don't have to be a victim of their circumstance.
Yeah, so you said you were no stars. I was no star too, but we had a no star system. There wasn't even a star system back when I
I wish that was the case when I was coming in.
I was like stars. I don't remember when that happened, but I didn't. I was a no star too. So, uh, you know, you I can't help but to look at you here on this call and listen to you, and the amount of time I had to spend with your dad and you is probably more than any other athlete I've ever been around because of the circumstances. Because you were here in the hospital system for probably 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks,
Yes, sir.
and your dad was here the entire time. So I
Mhm.
had we had a lot of meals together and riding in the car and all sorts of just uh, going to eat, just all sorts of just getting to know him. Um, so I can't help but to hear and see him in you. Talk about the impact of male role models with young men.
Man, they're crucial. It's hard to be something that you have never seen. So if something wasn't demonstrated or emulated to someone, then they may not even know it's possible to be that. And how that looks in terms of the life form, I mean, my dad, I've watched him go through so many difficult situations, and I've watched him in times where I was like, there's no way this dude's gonna push through this situation, but he does. And he doesn't complain, he doesn't make excuses, he just does the work. And so after seeing that for so long, that's all I knew how to do. I come to an adverse situation. What did he do? Well, he put his head down, put his hard hat on, and went to work. So when I get to my adverse situation, I'm gonna put my head down, put my hard hat on, and go to work because that's all I've seen. So it's detrimental to a young man's
Mhm.
development in my eyes. Not even from a father's perspective. I've had multiple men in my life that have been the same way, that have taken their situations and have worked through them and never gave excuses for it. Never counted themselves out, no matter how difficult the circumstance looked. And as a result of that, I kind of adopted that and made it into my own and did the same thing.
So as a coach, I have to make a plea that you go into coaching. I just have to. I can't let this opportunity slide and have someone with your experience and expertise and caliber not go into coaching. So any chance of that?
Maybe one day. I don't know if right now that's the season that I'm within, but I'm sure I'll be on the sidelines with a whistle at some point. I'm sure I will be.
Well, I had to throw that in there. So talk to us about what's next. I know the last time you were here, you had a chance to come back and be part of awesome ceremony that had a chance to celebrate the survivors of trauma, and you were one of the three people that spoke. That the U of L Health had you come back and speak about your experiences and just give some words of encouragement to the other victims. So talk about maybe that event, and then that's also where I learned about the things that you have in the queue. So talk about that. So your last visit here, and then what you got going next.
Yes, sir. So last visit there for Trauma Survivor Day, man, it was an amazing event. It's hard sometimes to remember that when you go through difficult times that you're not alone. And I feel like that event just really demonstrated that, you know, other people are struggling as well, but not only are they struggling, they're taking their struggle and they're using it in a positive way. So it gives you motivation to keep doing the same thing. Every story that I read there just was amazing that everybody that was going through those things showed up with a smile on their face. That like they were happy and they were doing great things, and impacting others in a positive way. So it was like, wow, like it's truly amazing. And it's a testament to how we should live in our everyday lives. If you can realize that, man, like this person actually isn't that different than me. Yeah, we may come from different places, but he struggles with this, I struggle with this, we're both struggling. Maybe we can help each other, maybe we can't, but maybe we can support each other and they're going in the same direction. So it was truly beautiful and a blessing to be a part of that situation. And man, I was honored to be able to share a few words with everyone. It was truly a highlight of the last couple of months here. So it was a great event. And from that, as many people probably, have assumed since then. But just speaking, I just recently got back from Hershey, Pennsylvania. I spoke at their headquarters for their Juneteenth event, which was an awesome experience as well. And man, I learned about the things that Mr. Hershey did and what he went through to even create Hershey is just another testament that everybody goes through adversity. Everybody's dealing with something and you have the choice to overcome it. But not only do you have the choice, but you have the tools to overcome it. You just have to realize that you do. And that trip helped point that out in some ways. And his legacy is amazing. I mean, he has a whole school there that's worth billions dedicated to helping at-risk youth and not only helping them, but giving them bright futures that otherwise wouldn't have been possible. It's truly an amazing story. And so that was a great experience. And I just spoke at a firefighter ceremony for supervisors and things like that. And that was also another great experience just to see how, your story of resilience, and everybody has one, but if you share it, how positively it impacts others, man, it's a feeling that's hard to explain. Honestly, it's way better than scoring touchdowns. Not to say I don't miss it, but it's way better than that, and it's fulfilling in a way that I don't think anything else could do so. And as a result of that recollection, my roommate Michael Hollins and I, which he also has an amazing story of things that he's overcome and went through, and we're going to create a podcast dedicated to helping people tell their stories because our thing was that everybody you pass on the street has an amazing story. They just don't get to tell it. So if you sat them down and actually talked to them, you may learn something that you never would have learned, gain a new perspective, and you may take a nugget away from it from someone that you never would have spoken to. So we want to be a platform for ordinary people to tell extraordinary stories and have that, speak to the people. So that's also on the horizon of what's going to be coming into the workings here pretty soon aside
Yeah.
from the speaking and the development of the nonprofit.
Yep. So you've got a website, right?
For speaking, I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's in talking to some of the people that are close to me, they said, you need to have something that you could push out there to people so that they can read more about, who you are, what you've been through, and then make the decision on if they want to have you come and speak or not. So actually, my girlfriend, who was another major part, of my recovery, and she helped me out a lot. She honestly orchestrated a lot of that and constructed it, and I just told her the vision I had for it, and she brought it to life. But it's special. It's something that I'm proud of because in a way I've never really looked at my life and the things that have happened up until this point, and it's kind of a culmination of everything in a way that like, man, I'm actually proud of myself for going through that. I've been through a lot, and not only have I been through a lot, but I feel like it's the beginning of a new chapter is what that website symbolizes. So you can go to it. I'm sure it's attached to the notes of this podcast. Visit it, check it out. Even if you don't book me, you could just look at it. It's pretty cool to look at, I like to think. So yeah, that's kind of the story around that.
Well, I'm going to say people do need to book you, and you need to say it right now. What is we'll put it in the notes, but just go ahead and say it out loud right now.
Oh, it's just Perris Jones at wixsite.com. Yeah.
All right, good. I'm going to tell you all, I've seen Perris speak in front of crowds in very tough situations on a couple of occasions. And you're very skilled. I'm impressed how you're able to speak without reading from notes.
I talk to my dad about this all the time. I'm like, it's not difficult because in a way I'm just talking about myself. So I already know the material. Like it's embedded in who I am because I've seen it, I've lived through it. So as a result of that, it's not nothing really to remember. It's just, reliving in a sense and
Mhm.
trying to share those raw emotions. And I think that's what's benefited me and the effects that it's had on people. It's just how raw it is and authentic it is. And it gives people something to grab onto to just because that's another aspect of it is a lot of people look at, athletes and they put us on this pedestal almost as if we're not human when it's honestly the furthest thing from the truth. We're human just like everybody else is.
Mhm.
And I feel like keeping that authenticity helps drive that home. So no need for the note cards. It's just, okay, what was this situation like? How did it make me feel? And convey that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you went back and talked to your teammates when you first got back, I want to know what you shared with them, and then what do you share now, like with athletes? Like, what do you want them to know from your life that you want them to take with them? So, your teammates, what was it like when you that moment when you first had a chance to talk to them, and then what do you convey now to athletes?
When I first got reunited with him, it wasn't a whole lot of talking. It was a whole lot of suffocating me with hugs and embraces, which was nice. It was good to see him, and they were just happy to see me. So we didn't really talk a whole lot in those first initial moments. It was just kind of like, okay, you're here, you're okay, we're good. It was a grounding experience when we first saw one another. So not very many words exchanged. I feel like just the presence spoke volumes in that moment.
Mhm.
And as far as the message that I convey to him now is that, man, it roadblocks don't stop anything. You just run right through them. So I oftentimes I'll send videos of myself working out and lifting to, the other younger running backs that are on the team now or other receivers and O linemen. And I just joke with them. I'm like, man, I'm still lifting more than y'all. And I had y'all got to get in the gym. So I just try to keep motivating them that, nothing in life has to stop you if you
Mhm.
don't let it. No, and
Yeah,
you can push through anything. Your life can be whatever you want it to be, as long as you're willing to put in the work and sacrifice for it. There's nothing you can't achieve. And I feel like I'm a living testimony of that, is that if you work for it, you have a very, very great chance of achieving it and then bringing it to life. And
yeah.
and so they're taking hold of that and embodying it. And I mean, Coach Elliott has me come in every now and then just to walk around. I told him, I said, I'll run a gasser with him now. I'll still get on the line. I need to. I'm not too far gone to do that. So I just try to be there as a little extra push of motivation as much as I can in any way that I can.
Yeah. I like to take a few seconds here to shout out your athletic trainer and your strength and conditioning coach. So just, you know, you got the floor.
Ashley Murray, Kelly Pugh, man, Coach Adam Smotherman, Black Jack, Coach Reed, Coach Austin Kagler. Man, they've been amazing. Giving me from our strength staff, giving me workouts when I got back to Ashley and Miss Kelly, making sure that they're there at every appointment that I have and every X-ray, supporting me every step of the way, checking on me all the time. Can't ask for better support. Truly I couldn't. And the same has to be said with the Louisville staff, I have to say as well. They were truly amazing as well. And they were there every step of the way, came and checked on me all the time. And obviously it goes without saying the nurses and the rehab doctors at Frazier, they also did an amazing job. Dr. Castillo and his staff are truly, miracle workers, literally. So grateful for them, grateful for everyone. Honestly, I couldn't have done or been where I am without them.
Yeah. Well, I'm appreciative of everyone as well, because getting two staffs to work together that really haven't trained with each other, but were trained, the way they worked together was seamless, and it was just an awesome handoff on many different times. That handoff happened back and forth, to use a football analogy, but it was important. So
Yeah.
for us, that's how we got to. being able to have moments like this. And so I just appreciate you, as we get ready to wrap up this podcast. Anytime I get a chance to talk to you, and I'm reminded of so many things, and I'm grateful for you, for your family, for and this just a great game of that we get a chance to, we've either played or get a chance to coach, right? And
Right. Maybe
so
one day, who knows?
one day. But anything you want to leave people with before we shut it down?
Man, I mean, everybody is extraordinary, and that's something that not a lot of people embody enough, even though they truly are. It's just extraordinary people are just ordinary people who do ordinary things on a consistent basis. And that's what makes them extraordinary. And everybody has the capability to do that, and they should, because everybody has something special to offer this world. Everybody has a great message, a great light that needs to be shared or shown. And you're robbing yourself if you don't show that. So and it doesn't take anything great, just be who you are to the best of your ability. And then by doing that, you'll automatically walk in your purpose or your light. And man, it'll affect others in such a positive way.
Well, Mr. Perris Jones, it's been a pleasure. Just one more time, where can our listeners find you and book you to come in and speak to
Yes,
them
sir.
or their group?
Please do. It's Perris Jones at wixsite.com.
And
And you know,
Perris Jones. Yep.
Jones at
Yep.
wixsite.com.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
All right. Well, hey man, you take care. Appreciate you. Appreciate everything you do. You represent. Just keep it going. Everybody's watching you. You mean a lot to a lot of people. So,
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you
all right.
guys for listening too.
All right. Thank you.